The text arrived at 6:47 a.m., and it changed everything. I was standing in the kitchen of our apartment, pouring coffee into my favorite travel mug, the one Vanessa had given me 3 Christmases ago, with "World's Best Dad" printed on the side. I was already dressed for the day: navy slacks, a light blue button-down, brown leather shoes I'd polished the night before. My carry-on bag sat by the door, packed and ready. The tickets to Barcelona were on the counter, tucked into a blue folder along with our hotel confirmations and a printed itinerary I'd spent weeks putting together. 2 weeks in Europe, Vanessa, me, and the twins, museums, beaches, restaurants. I'd been planning this trip for 6 months, saving every spare dollar, researching every detail. It was supposed to be perfect. A chance to reconnect, to remember why we'd fallen in love in the first place. Then my phone buzzed. I picked it up, expecting a text from Vanessa asking me to grab something from the store on my way to the airport. Instead, I saw this. "Change of plans. You're staying home from Europe. My kids want their real dad." I stared at the screen, reading the words over and over, waiting for them to make sense. They didn't. My kids want their real dad. Not our kids. Not the kids. My kids. And their real dad. I wasn't their real dad. I'd been there when they were born. I'd changed their diapers, walked them through their first steps, taught them how to ride bikes. I'd stayed up all night when they were sick, made their lunches every morning, helped them with their homework. I'd been their dad for 8 years, but apparently I wasn't their real dad. I called Vanessa. The phone rang 4 times, then went to voicemail. Her voice bright and professional. "Hi, you've reached Dr. Vanessa Blake. I'm unable to take your call right now, but please leave a message and I'll get back to you as soon as possible." I hung up and called again. Same result. I sent her a text. "What are you talking about? Where are you?" No response. I stood there in the kitchen, holding my phone, waiting. The coffee in my mug was getting cold. The clock on the wall ticked loudly, each second stretching out like an hour. I kept staring at the screen, willing her to respond, to explain, to tell me it was some kind of terrible joke. Nothing. At 7:05, I tried calling again. Voicemail. At 7:10, I called Monica, Vanessa's best friend. She picked up on the second ring. "Ethan, hey, what's up?" "Where's Vanessa?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. I don't know. Isn't she with you? You guys are flying out today, right?" "She just texted me saying I'm staying home. Do you know what she's talking about?" There was a pause. A long one. Too long. "Monica?" I don't know, Ethan. Maybe you should talk to her." "I'm trying to. She's not answering." Another pause. "Look, I really don't know what's going on. I'm sure it's just a misunderstanding. You guys will work it out." "Monica, I have to go. Sorry, Ethan." She hung up. I stood there staring at my phone, feeling something cold and heavy settling in my chest. Monica knew something. I could hear it in her voice. The hesitation, the awkwardness, the way she'd rush to get off the phone. I opened our joint bank account on my phone. The balance was $32,000. Money I'd been saving for over a year, putting aside a little from each paycheck, from freelance gigs, from birthday checks my mom sent. Vanessa rarely touched it. She had her own account for her hospital salary, and she made 3 times what I did. I transferred every dollar into my personal account, all $32,000. Then I locked the joint account so she couldn't access it. Next, I opened our shared credit card accounts. We had 3, one for groceries and household expenses, one for emergencies, and one we used for travel. I froze all of them. Then I logged into the portal for our apartment. We'd been renting a 2-bedroom in a nice part of the city for 5 years. The lease was in both our names, but I was listed as the primary contact. I went to the management section and submitted a request to sublease, effective immediately. Then I sent a formal notice to the landlord that we'd be vacating by the end of the month. By 7:30, I'd pulled up the airline's website and canceled our tickets. Non-refundable, but I didn't care. I wasn't going to sit around waiting for Vanessa to change her mind or explain herself. If she wanted to take the kids to Europe with someone else, with their real dad, whoever that was, then fine. She could do it without my money and without my cooperation. I went into the bedroom and pulled my old duffel bag out of the closet. I packed quickly, methodically. A week's worth of clothes, toiletries, my laptop, chargers, a few books. I left the wedding photos on the dresser, left the framed pictures of the kids on the wall, left the dishes in the sink and the laundry in the hamper. At 8 a.m., I walked out of the apartment, locked the door behind me, and got in my car. I didn't know where I was going. I just drove. I headed west, out of the city, taking back roads to avoid traffic. I stopped at a gas station an hour outside of town, filled up the tank, bought a cup of terrible coffee and a stale donut. The guy behind the counter asked if I was okay. I told him I was fine. I wasn't fine. At 2 p.m., I was sitting in a booth at a diner in a town I'd never heard of, 3 hours from home. The place was nearly empty. Just me, an old couple in the corner, and a waitress who looked like she'd rather be anywhere else. I ordered a burger and fries, even though I wasn't hungry, and pulled out my phone. Vanessa still hadn't responded to my texts. No calls, no voicemails, nothing. But she had posted on social media. I opened the app and saw her latest post, uploaded 20 minutes ago. It was a group photo taken at the airport. Vanessa was in the center, smiling brightly, her arm around our daughter. Our son was on her other side, holding a stuffed animal I didn't recognize. And standing behind them, his hand on Vanessa's shoulder, was a man I didn't know. He was tall, probably 6'2", with dark hair styled with too much gel, a deep tan, and the kind of smile that looked practiced. He was wearing sunglasses, expensive ones, the kind with a designer logo on the side, and a light blue polo shirt that probably cost more than my entire outfit. His watch caught the light in the photo, a Rolex, gold and shiny and impossible to miss. The caption read, "New adventures with the people who matter most." I stared at the photo, zooming in on the man's face. He looked vaguely familiar, but I couldn't place him. Then I noticed the background. They were at the airport, the same airport I was supposed to be at this morning. She'd taken my kids to Europe with another man, their real dad. I zoomed in further, focusing on the guy's wrist, on that ridiculous Rolex. And then it hit me. I'd seen that watch before. 6 months ago, Vanessa had dragged me to a hospital fundraiser. It was one of those black tie events full of donors and board members, the kind of party where everyone smiled too much and talked about money disguised as philanthropy. I'd spent the whole night making awkward small talk while Vanessa worked the room, charming everyone in sight. At some point, she'd introduced me to a consultant the hospital had hired. His name was Tyler something, Voss maybe? He'd shaken my hand with a grip that was just a little too firm, the kind that said, "I'm better than you, and I want you to know it." He'd made some comment about how lucky I was to be married to the most talented doctor in the state, and I'd smiled politely while imagining throwing my drink in his face. I'd hated him on sight, and now he was in a photo with my wife and my kids, on their way to Europe. I set my phone down on the table and stared at it. For a long moment, I didn't feel anything. No anger, no sadness, no shock. Just a strange, hollow emptiness. Then, slowly, something shifted. The emptiness filled with something cold and sharp and clear. Clarity. Vanessa had been planning this. She hadn't just woken up this morning and decided to blow up our marriage on a whim. She'd been thinking about it, preparing for it, probably for weeks, maybe months. She'd lined up Tyler, convinced the kids, booked the tickets, and waited until the last possible moment to tell me. She'd wanted me to feel blind-sided, powerless, small. And for a few hours, it had worked, but not anymore. I picked up my phone and opened my banking app. $32,000, safe in my personal account. She couldn't touch it now. I opened my email and checked the confirmation from the landlord. Sublease request pending approval. She'd come home to find her apartment rented out from under her. I smiled. It wasn't a happy smile. It was the kind of smile that comes when you realize you're done playing defense. I was going to make Vanessa regret this. Not in a loud, messy, impulsive way. Not by screaming or begging or falling apart. No. I was going to be calm, patient, methodical. I was going to take everything she cared about, her reputation, her friendships, her carefully constructed image, and I was going to burn it all down, and she'd never see it coming. Vanessa and I met when we were 21. It was the fall semester of our junior year in college. I was studying journalism, working part-time at the campus newspaper, trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. She was pre-med, laser-focused, the kind of person who had a 5-year plan and a backup plan for the backup plan. We met at a party. I was drunk, she was sober, and somehow we ended up talking for 3 hours on the back porch while everyone else played beer pong inside. She told me about her plan to become a surgeon. I told her about my dream of writing for a major newspaper. She laughed at my jokes. I liked the way she looked at me, like I was interesting, like I mattered. We started dating a week later. For the first 2 years, it was good. Great, even. We spent weekends exploring the city, trying new restaurants, going to concerts. She'd quiz me on anatomy terms while I helped her study. I'd read her drafts of my articles, and she'd give me brutally honest feedback. We talked about the future, where we'd live, what kind of house we'd buy, how many kids we'd have. We got married 3 years after we met, right after she got accepted into med school. I was 24, she was 23, and we were broke. The wedding was small, just family and a few close friends. We honeymooned in a cabin upstate for a long weekend because that was all we could afford. And then med school started. For the next 4 years, I worked my tail off to keep us afloat. Vanessa couldn't work. Her schedule was too demanding. So I picked up the slack. I took freelance writing gigs, copywriting jobs, anything that paid. I wrote blog posts for websites I'd never heard of, edited resumes for people I'd never meet, cranked out listicles about 10 ways to boost your productivity for sites that paid $20 per article. I worked nights and weekends. I skipped meals to save money. I canceled plans with friends because I had deadlines to meet. Vanessa studied, and studied, and studied. When she wasn't in class or at the hospital, she was at the library or locked in our tiny apartment bedroom with her textbooks. I'd make dinner, pasta, usually, because it was cheap, and she'd eat it at her desk without looking up. I'd try to start a conversation, and she'd nod absently, her eyes still on her notes. "Sorry, babe," she'd say. "I really need to focus right now." I told myself it was temporary, that once she graduated and finished her residency, things would get easier. We'd have time for each other again. But that never happened. When Vanessa got into her residency program, we moved to a new city. I left behind my job at a local magazine, my friends, the apartment I'd finally started to feel comfortable in. Vanessa promised it would be worth it. The program was prestigious, she said. It would open doors, so I packed up our life and followed her. The residency was brutal. 80-hour weeks, overnight shifts. She'd come home exhausted, barely able to string a sentence together. I'd try to talk to her, and she'd fall asleep mid-conversation. "I'm sorry," she'd mumble. "I'm just so tired." I understood. Or at least I tried to. I kept working freelance, but the pay was inconsistent. Some months I made decent money. Other months I barely scraped together enough to cover rent. Vanessa's residency stipend helped, but it wasn't much, and most of it went toward her student loans. I started picking up side gigs, bartending, tutoring, even walking dogs for a pet sitting service. Anything to keep us afloat. And Vanessa kept working. When her residency ended, she got an attending position at a major hospital. Finally, we had real money, enough to move into a nicer apartment, to stop worrying about every dollar, to actually enjoy life a little. But Vanessa didn't slow down. If anything, she worked more. She took on extra shifts, joined committees, volunteered for research projects. She was always at the hospital, always busy, always tired, and then the twins were born. I thought maybe that would change things, that becoming parents would bring us closer, remind us why we'd fallen in love in the first place. Instead, it pushed us further apart. Vanessa threw herself into motherhood the same way she'd thrown herself into med school, obsessively, relentlessly, to the exclusion of everything else. She read every parenting book, joined every online forum, scheduled playdates with other doctor moms. She hired a nanny for when she was at work, but on her days off, she insisted on doing everything herself, and I became the backup. That's how she introduced me at parties. "This is my husband, Ethan. He helps out with the kids while I'm at work. Not he's a writer. Not he's a journalist. Not even he's a stay-at-home dad. Just he helps out." I told myself it didn't matter, that she didn't mean it the way it sounded, that she was just stressed, overwhelmed, trying to juggle too many things at once. But it did matter, because the more time passed, the more I realized Vanessa didn't see me as a partner anymore. She saw me as help, as someone who took care of the things she didn't have time for. I started noticing other things, too. The way she'd angle her phone away from me when she was texting, the way she'd close her laptop if I walked into the room, the way she'd started showering as soon as she got home from work, even if she'd showered that morning. At first, I told myself I was imagining it, that I was being paranoid, insecure, ridiculous. But then I checked the phone bill. It was a Friday night. Vanessa was out with Monica, her best friend from med school. They were at some wine bar downtown, celebrating Monica's promotion or birthday or something. I was home with the twins, trying to get them to bed while they argued about whose turn it was to pick the bedtime story. Once they were asleep, I poured myself a drink and sat down at the kitchen table with my laptop. I'd been meaning to go through our bills. I handled most of the finances because Vanessa didn't have time, and I noticed our phone bill had been higher than usual for the past few months. I logged into the account and pulled up the detailed call log. That's when I saw it. Pages and pages of calls to the same number. Late-night calls, most of them. Calls that lasted 20 minutes, 30 minutes, sometimes over an hour. Calls that started around the time Vanessa said she was staying late at the hospital to finish charts. I didn't recognize the number. I ran it through a reverse lookup site. The name that came up was Tyler Voss. Tyler Voss. I sat there staring at the screen, trying to make sense of it. Maybe they were working together on a project. Maybe it was something hospital-related. Maybe I was jumping to conclusions. But then I scrolled further back. The calls had started 6 months ago, right after that fundraiser, and they'd been happening almost every night since. I didn't confront Vanessa. Not yet. I needed to be sure. I needed more proof. So I started paying attention. I noticed the way she'd leave the room to take calls, closing the door behind her, the way she'd delete her text messages as soon as she read them, the way she'd started dressing up for work, wearing nicer clothes, doing her makeup more carefully, spraying on perfume before she left the house. I started going through her things. It felt wrong at first, like I was violating her privacy, betraying her trust. But then I reminded myself, she was the one with secrets. She was the one hiding something. I went through her purse, found nothing. I checked her car, found a receipt from a hotel, a nice one downtown. The date was 3 weeks earlier, a night Vanessa had told me she was covering an overnight shift at the hospital. I checked her coat pockets, found a gift card to a fancy restaurant. It was half used. I checked her gym bag, found a business card for Tyler Voss with a phone number written on the back in Vanessa's handwriting. And then, one night, I found the phone. It was tucked into the bottom of her gym bag, under a pair of sneakers, a cheap burner phone, the kind you buy at a gas station. I turned it on. The screen lit up with dozens of unread messages, all from Tyler. I didn't read them, not yet. I knew if I did, if I saw the words, it would become real in a way I wasn't ready for. Instead, I took photos of the phone with my own phone. Photos of the screen, the messages, the call log, evidence. Then I put it back where I found it. That night, I lay in bed next to Vanessa, listening to her breathe, and I realized something. I didn't love her anymore. I didn't even recognize her. The woman I'd married, the woman who used to laugh at my jokes, who used to fall asleep on my shoulder during movies, who used to look at me like I was the most important person in the world, was gone. In her place was a stranger, a liar, a cheat, and I was done. I found an apartment in a town 2 hours west. It wasn't much, a 1-bedroom above a pizza shop with thin walls and a leaky faucet. But the rent was cheap, and the landlord didn't ask questions. I paid 3 months up front in cash and moved in the next day. For the first week, I did nothing. I sat on the futon I'd bought at a thrift store, eating takeout straight from the container, staring at the wall. My phone sat on the table, screen up, waiting for Vanessa to call. To text, to ask where I was, if I was okay, why I'd left. She didn't. Monica called once, on day 3. I let it go to voicemail. She left a message. Hey, Ethan, it's Monica. Vanessa's been trying to reach you. She's worried. Can you call her back? Or call me? Just let us know you're okay. I deleted the message. On day 5, my mom called. I answered. Ethan, honey, are you all right? Vanessa called me. She said you disappeared. I'm fine, Mom. What happened? She said you two had a fight. Something like that. Do you want to talk about it? Not really. There was a pause. Okay, she said finally. But if you need anything... I know. Thanks, Mom. I hung up. On day 7, I started planning. I'd spent years watching crime documentaries with Vanessa. She loved them, the procedural ones, where detectives pieced together evidence and caught criminals through surveillance footage and forensic analysis. She'd always point out the mistakes the bad guys made. Too sloppy, she'd say, shaking her head. If you're going to do something, you have to be smart about it. No loose ends. I took her advice to heart. I started with Tyler Voss. I found his address online. He lived in a high-rise downtown, one of those luxury buildings with a doorman and valet parking, the kind of place where you needed a key card just to get into the elevator. I drove there one night and parked across the street, watching. At 9 p.m., Tyler came out, dressed in a suit, laughing into his phone. The valet brought his car around, a black BMW, sleek and shiny, probably worth more than I made in 2 years. He drove to a bar a few blocks away. I followed, keeping a safe distance. He parked on the street and went inside. I waited. An hour later, he came out with a woman. Not Vanessa. Someone younger, blonde, wearing a dress that barely covered anything. They were laughing, stumbling a little. Drunk. Tyler unlocked his car and they got in. I watched as they drove off, heading back toward his building. I sat there for a while, thinking. Tyler wasn't just seeing Vanessa. He was seeing other women, too. Maybe a lot of them. And Vanessa probably had no idea. I could use that. Over the next 2 weeks, I followed Tyler everywhere. I learned his routine, morning run at 6:30 a.m., coffee at the same cafe every day, lunch meetings with clients, happy hours at upscale bars. He had a type. Young, pretty, easily impressed. He'd chat them up, buy them drinks, take them home, and he always drove that BMW. On a Tuesday night, I made my move. I waited until Tyler was at one of his usual bars, then walked to where his car was parked. I was wearing gloves, latex, the kind you can buy in bulk at any pharmacy, and I had a backpack with supplies, a syringe, a bottle of fish oil I'd left sitting in the sun for a week until it reeked, a bag of glitter, and a bottle of fabric dye. I worked quickly. I injected the rotten fish oil into the car's ventilation system, using the syringe to push it deep into the vents. Then I opened the unlocked passenger door. Tyler never locked his doors, and dumped the glitter all over the seats. I poured the dye onto the driver's seat, letting it soak into the leather. Then I left. The next morning, Tyler posted on social media about his car being vandalized by some psycho. He couldn't figure out who'd done it or why. The smell, he said, was unbearable. He'd have to get the whole interior replaced. I smiled. It wasn't much, just a small, petty act of revenge, but it felt good, and it was only the beginning. A few days later, my phone buzzed with a text from Vanessa. "We need to talk. Can we meet?" I stared at the message for a long time before responding. "No." Another text came through almost immediately. "Please, Ethan, I know you're angry, but we need to clear the air." "There's nothing to clear," I typed back. "You made your choice." "It's not what you think." I laughed out loud. "It's not what you think." The oldest line in the book. "I'm not interested," I replied. My phone rang. Vanessa. I declined the call. She called again. I declined again. Finally, she texted, "Fine. Be that way, but you're being childish." Childish. I was being childish, not her. Not the woman who'd cheated on me, who'd taken my kids to Europe with another man, who'd blown up our marriage with a single text message. No, I was the childish one. I turned off my phone and threw it onto the futon. Then I opened my laptop and started searching for Monica Trent's social media accounts. If Vanessa wanted to play games, fine. But she wasn't the only one who knew how to keep secrets. And Monica, sweet, loyal, always by Vanessa's side Monica, had plenty of secrets of her own. Monica Trent was Vanessa's best friend. They'd met in med school, bonded over late-night study sessions, and shared complaints about their professors. Monica had been the maid of honor at our wedding. She was godmother to the twins. And she was a liar, just like Vanessa. I'd never liked Monica. She had this way of smiling at you while making you feel small. She'd compliment your shirt and then add, "I almost bought one like that, but I thought it looked a little cheap." She'd ask how work was going and then cut you off halfway through your answer to talk about herself. But Vanessa adored her. And over the years, Monica had become a fixture in our lives. She came over for dinner at least once a week, joined us on family vacations, babysat the twins when we needed help. I'd always assumed she was harmless. Annoying, sure, but harmless. I was wrong. I started digging into Monica's life, and it didn't take long to find cracks. Her social media was a carefully curated highlight reel, photos of expensive brunches, designer handbags, exotic vacations. But if you looked closer, you could see the inconsistencies. She claimed to be a senior manager at the hospital, but her LinkedIn profile said she'd only been promoted 6 months ago. She posted about her amazing boyfriend, but there were no photos of him, no tags, no names. And then I found the blog. It was buried deep in a Google search, an anonymous lifestyle blog written by someone calling herself MT. The writing style was unmistakable, pretentious, self-congratulatory, full of humble brags. And the details matched Monica's life perfectly. Her job, her apartment, her trips. In one post, dated 3 months ago, she'd written about an affair she was having with her boss. "I know it's wrong," the post read, "but I can't help it. He's married, I'm not, and we both know this can't last. But for now, it's exciting, dangerous. And honestly, I don't feel guilty. His wife doesn't appreciate him. I do." I screenshot the post. Then I kept digging. It didn't take long to figure out who her boss was. Monica worked in hospital administration. Her direct supervisor was a man named Gregory Palmer, 53, married with 2 kids, and according to Monica's most recent blog post, she was pregnant. "I haven't told him yet," she'd written. "I don't know if I will. Part of me wants to keep it a secret. Part of me wants to see what he does when he finds out. Either way, this is going to be messy." I sat back, staring at my laptop screen, and smiled. This was better than I'd hoped. 2 nights later, I followed Vanessa and Monica to a wine bar downtown. They arrived around 8 p.m., laughing and chatting as they walked inside. I waited 15 minutes, then went in after them. The place was crowded, dim lighting, loud music, groups of people clustered around high-top tables. I found a spot in the back corner, partially hidden behind a column, and ordered a drink. Vanessa and Monica were sitting at a table near the window, glasses of wine in front of them. From where I was, I could hear bits and pieces of their conversation. "Can't believe he just left," Vanessa was saying. "No explanation, no warning, just gone." "He's probably sulking," Monica said, waving a hand dismissively. "He'll come back when he realizes how weird he's been acting." "I don't know. He froze our accounts. He listed the apartment for sublease. He's serious about this." "So? Let him be serious. You don't need him." Vanessa sighed. "I know, but it's still inconvenient." Inconvenient. I almost laughed. Monica leaned closer, lowering her voice. "Have you talked to Tyler?" "A little. He thinks I should just move on. File for custody, get a good lawyer, take Ethan for everything. He's not wrong. I guess. I just didn't think it would be this complicated." Monica smirked. "Well, that's what happens when you marry someone beneath you." I felt my jaw tighten. They kept talking, their voices dropping lower. I pulled out my phone, opened the voice recorder app, and held it under the table, angling it toward them. "I still can't believe he didn't figure it out sooner," Monica said. "I mean, you weren't exactly subtle." Vanessa laughed. "He's oblivious. He always has been." "True. Remember when you and Tyler were texting during that fundraiser last year? Ethan was standing right there." "God, that was so awkward. But he didn't notice anything." "Because he's They both laughed. I kept recording. "So, what's your plan now?" Monica asked. "I don't know. Tyler wants me to move in with him, but I'm not sure. I mean, I like him, but he's not exactly husband material." "Who cares? Use him for now. When you're done, move on." "That's terrible advice. But it's honest." They clinked their glasses together, laughing. I stopped the recording and slipped my phone back into my pocket. Then I waited. At 10 p.m., Monica got up to use the restroom. I followed, staying far enough back that she wouldn't notice. When she came out, I was standing by the hallway pretending to check my phone. She walked past me without a second glance. Perfect. The next morning, I sent an anonymous email to Gregory Palmer, Monica's boss. The subject line read, "You should know." The body of the email contained screenshots of Monica's blog posts, including the one about their affair and her pregnancy. I didn't add any commentary. I didn't need to. The posts spoke for themselves. Then I sent a second email to Human Resources at the hospital with the same screenshots and a brief note. "Monica Trent is having an affair with her supervisor, Gregory Palmer. Thought you should be aware." I hit send and closed my laptop. 2 days later, Monica posted on social media. "Sometimes the people you trust the most are the ones who stab you in the back." The post had dozens of comments, most of them from friends asking if she was okay, if she wanted to talk, what had happened. Monica didn't respond to any of them, but Vanessa did. She called me for the first time in weeks. I let it go to voicemail. She called again and again. Finally, she sent a text. "What did you do?" I smiled and typed back, "I have no idea what you're talking about." Monica's life is falling apart. Her job, her relationship, everything. And I know you had something to do with it. "That's a serious accusation. Do you have proof?" She didn't respond. I set my phone down and poured myself a drink. One down. David Ruiz worked with Vanessa at the hospital. I didn't know much about him. We'd met once or twice at hospital functions, exchanged pleasantries, shaken hands, but I remembered him. Quiet, polite, a little awkward. The kind of guy who faded into the background. According to Vanessa, he was a pushover. She'd complain about him sometimes over dinner, rolling her eyes as she recounted how he'd messed up a patient handoff or failed to speak up during a meeting. "He's so timid," she'd say. "I don't know how he got through medical school." I'd always felt a little bad for David. Vanessa had a way of making people feel small, and David seemed like an easy target. But now I was counting on that. I found his contact information through the hospital directory and sent him an email. I used a fake name, Michael Torres, and claimed to be a journalist working on a story about workplace dynamics in healthcare. "I've heard from multiple sources that Dr. Vanessa Blake has created a hostile work environment for her colleagues," I wrote. "I'd like to speak with you off the record to get your perspective. All information will remain confidential." I hit send and waited. 3 hours later, David replied, "I don't usually talk to journalists, but I'll hear you out. Can we meet somewhere private?" We agreed to meet at a coffee shop across town the next morning. David showed up 10 minutes early, looking nervous. He was in his mid-30s, average height, wearing khakis and a button-down shirt. He ordered a black coffee and sat down across from me, fidgeting with his cup. "Thanks for meeting with me," I said, extending my hand. "Michael Torres." "David Ruiz." His handshake was weak. "So," I said, pulling out a notebook to make it look official, "tell me about Dr. Blake." David hesitated. "I'm not sure what you want me to say." "Just the truth. What's it like working with her?" He sighed. "Look, she's talented. Everyone knows that. But she's also difficult." "Difficult how?" "She has very high standards. Which is fine, I guess. But she doesn't have patience for anyone who doesn't meet those standards. And she's not afraid to let you know when you've disappointed her." "Can you give me an example?" David looked down at his coffee. "A few months ago, I made a mistake with a patient's chart. Nothing major, just a typo, really. But Vanessa called me out in front of the entire team. She said I was careless, that I wasn't cut out for this job, that I should consider a career change. That sounds harsh. It was, and it's not the first time. She does stuff like that all the time. To me, to other people. She acts like she's untouchable. And no one pushes back? How can we? She's one of the top doctors in the department. She has connections, influence. If you cross her, she'll make your life miserable." I nodded, scribbling notes. "What about her personal life? Do you know anything about that?" David shifted uncomfortably. "Not much. I know she's married. Or was married. I heard her husband left recently." "Do you know why?" I might have an idea. Go on." He hesitated again, then leaned forward, lowering his voice. "There's a guy, Tyler Voss. He's a consultant the hospital hired a while back. I've seen them together. At first I thought it was just professional, but it didn't look professional." "What do you mean?" "They'd have lunch together. A lot. And I saw them once in the parking garage sitting in his car. They weren't talking. They were close." "Did anyone else notice?" "I don't know. I never said anything. I figured it wasn't my business." I set down my pen and looked at him. "David, can I be honest with you?" "Sure." "I'm not actually a journalist." His eyes widened. "What?" "My name's not Michael Torres. It's Ethan Blake, Vanessa's husband." David stared at me, his mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. "I'm sorry for lying," I continued, "but I needed to know the truth. And I didn't think you'd talk to me if I told you who I really was." You're Ethan?" "Yeah." He sat back, looking stunned. "Why are you doing this?" "Because Vanessa destroyed my life, and I'm going to return the favor." David didn't say anything for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. "I'll help you." Over the next week, David became my inside man. He told me everything. How Vanessa manipulated colleagues to get what she wanted, how she'd taken credit for other people's work, how she'd blackmailed a coworker into covering for her during an affair-related absence. And then he told me about the phone. "She keeps an old phone in her office," David said. "It's in the bottom drawer of her desk. I saw it once when I was looking for a file. She doesn't know I know about it." "Can you get it?" "Maybe, but if she finds out..." "She won't. I'll be careful." 2 days later, David handed me the phone in the parking lot of a grocery store. I turned it on. The screen lit up, revealing dozens of messages, photos, voicemails, everything I needed. "Thank you," I said. David nodded. "Just don't tell her I helped you." "I won't." He drove off, and I sat in my car, scrolling through the phone. The messages were damning. Vanessa and Tyler planning meetups, exchanging explicit photos, laughing about me. But there was more. Messages between Vanessa and Monica discussing how to handle me if I ever found out. Messages between Vanessa and Tyler, talking about moving in together, starting a new life. And then, buried near the bottom, I found something unexpected. A voicemail from Tyler to Vanessa, dated 2 weeks ago. "Hey babe, it's me. Listen, I've been thinking. Maybe we should slow things down. I'm not sure I'm ready for all this. The kids, the drama, the whole thing. Let's talk soon." I played it again. Tyler was getting cold feet. He wanted out. I smiled. This was perfect. The next night, I called David. "I need one more favor." "What?" "I overheard Vanessa on the phone earlier," he said, his voice shaking slightly. "She was talking to Tyler. She said, 'We'll disappear before he finds us.'" I felt my stomach tighten. "Disappear?" "Yeah, I don't know what she means, but it didn't sound good." I thanked David and hung up. Then I opened my laptop and started planning the next move. Vanessa thought she was in control. Thought she could just walk away, start over, leave me with nothing. She was wrong. The hospital fundraiser was scheduled for Saturday night, It was one of those big, flashy events the hospital threw every year to impress donors and board members. Black tie, open bar, silent auction. Vanessa never missed it. She loved the attention, the networking, the chance to schmooze with people who could advance her career. I knew she'd be there. And I knew Tyler would be there too. David had forwarded me the event details, along with the guest list and seating chart. Vanessa and Tyler weren't sitting together. That would have been too obvious. But they were close enough to talk, to exchange glances, to slip away together when no one was looking. I spent the week preparing. First, I downloaded every incriminating message, photo, and voicemail from Vanessa's hidden phone and saved them to a secure drive. Then I created an audio file, a compilation of Vanessa's voicemails to Tyler, the ones where she laughed about how clueless I was, where she talked about their future together, where she said things no wife should ever say about her husband. Next, I reached out to a guy I'd met years ago, back when I was working at the campus newspaper. His name was Jeremy, and he was a tech guy, the kind who could hack into anything if you paid him enough. I need access to the sound system at a hospital fundraiser, I told him. That's oddly specific. Can you do it? Probably. How much are you paying? $5,000. He whistled. Must be important. It is. 2 days before the event, Jeremy sent me a message. You're all set. I'll send you the access codes the morning of. Just make sure you're within range of the venue's Wi-Fi. Perfect. Saturday night arrived. I drove to the hotel where the fundraiser was being held and parked in the back lot away from the valet station. I was wearing a black suit I'd bought at a thrift store, along with a pair of glasses I didn't need and a fake name tag I'd printed at home. If anyone asked, I was Mark Stevens, a regional donor. I walked into the hotel lobby and followed the signs to the ballroom. The event was already in full swing. Hundreds of people milling around, champagne glasses in hand, laughter echoing off the high ceilings. I spotted Vanessa almost immediately. She was standing near the bar, wearing a red dress that probably cost more than my rent, talking to a group of hospital executives. She looked radiant, confident, untouchable. Tyler was across the room, chatting with a blonde woman in a blue gown. He was laughing, gesturing animatedly, playing the charming consultant role to perfection. I grabbed a drink from the bar and found a spot near the back of the room where I could see everything but stay out of sight. At 8:30 p.m., the program began. The hospital CEO gave a speech thanking everyone for their generosity. A board member talked about the new wing they were building. A patient shared a tearful story about how the hospital had saved her life. And then it was Vanessa's turn. She walked to the podium, smiling, and the room erupted in applause. She waited for the noise to die down, then began her speech. Thank you all for being here tonight, she said, her voice smooth and practiced. It's because of your support that we're able to continue providing world-class care to our community. I pulled out my phone and opened the app Jeremy had set up for me. With a few taps, I connected to the venue's sound system. Vanessa kept talking, oblivious. And as we look to the future, I'm excited about the opportunities ahead. Together, we can make a difference. Together, we can... I hit play. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Vanessa's voice, not the one coming from the podium, but a recording, filled the room. God, Ethan is so clueless. I can't believe he hasn't figured it out yet. Vanessa froze mid-sentence. I mean, Tyler, you've been coming over for months. How has he not noticed? The room went silent. Tyler's voice came through the speakers next, smooth and cocky. Maybe he's just too busy playing dad to pay attention. Laughter. Vanessa's laughter. People started looking around, confused. Vanessa's face went pale. I can't wait to get rid of him, her recorded voice continued. Once the divorce is final, we can finally be together. No more sneaking around. Sounds perfect, Tyler's voice said. You, me, and the kids. One big happy family. The recording cut off. The silence that followed was deafening. Vanessa stood at the podium, her mouth hanging open, her eyes wide with shock. The room erupted in whispers, murmurs, gasps. I slipped out of the ballroom before anyone could stop me. I was waiting in the parking garage when Tyler came storming out of the hotel, his face red with fury. He was on his phone, shouting at someone, probably Vanessa. I stepped out of the shadows. Tyler! He spun around, startled. When he saw me, his expression shifted from anger to disgust. You, he spat. You're the one who... Yeah, I'm the one. He took a step toward me, his fists clenched. You just ruined her career. You know that, right? You destroyed her. She destroyed herself. You're pathetic. I smiled. And you're a coward. That did it. Tyler lunged at me, swinging wildly. I sidestepped, and his fist glanced off my shoulder. Before he could recover, I grabbed him by the collar and slammed him against a car. "Listen to me," I said, my voice low and calm. "You're going to stay away from Vanessa. You're going to stay away from my kids. And if I ever see you again, I'm going to release everything else I have. And trust me, it's worse than what you just heard." Tyler stared at me, his eyes wide with fear. "Do you understand?" He nodded. I let him go, and he stumbled backward, gasping. "Good," I said. "Now get out of here." Tyler didn't need to be told twice. He ran. I stood there for a moment, catching my breath, then walked to my car. My phone buzzed. A message from David. "Vanessa just got pulled into a meeting with the hospital board. They're not happy." I smiled. One more piece falling into place. Monday morning hit Vanessa like a freight train. I knew because David kept me updated. He'd text me throughout the day with little snippets of information, carefully worded, so no one could trace them back to him if his phone was ever checked. "She's in the director's office. Been there an hour? People are avoiding her in the hallways." Someone put a printed copy of the fundraiser incident on the break room bulletin board. I sat in my apartment, drinking coffee, reading each message with a growing sense of satisfaction. By noon, the story had spread beyond the hospital. Someone at the fundraiser had recorded the whole thing on their phone. Not just the audio I'd played, but Vanessa's reaction, the stunned silence, the way she'd fled the podium. They'd posted it online, and it was making the rounds on local social media groups. The comments were brutal. Imagine doing this at a charity event. No shame. Feel bad for her husband. Hope he takes her for everything. This is what happens when doctors think they're above everyone else. I scrolled through them all, reading every single one. Monica called me 3 times that day. I ignored every call. On the 4th attempt, she left a voicemail. Her voice was shaking, on the edge of tears. "Ethan, I know you're behind this. I don't know how, but I know it was you. What you did to me, what you did to Vanessa. It's not okay. We need to talk. Please call me back." I deleted the message. That evening, Monica posted on social media. It was a long, rambling rant about betrayal and friendship and how some people will do anything for revenge, even if it means destroying innocent lives. The post got a lot of attention, but not the kind Monica wanted. People started connecting the dots. Someone had screenshot Monica's old blog posts, the ones I'd sent to her boss and HR, and posted them in the comments. Others chimed in with stories about Monica's behavior at the hospital, her affairs, her lies. Within hours, Monica's post had backfired spectacularly. Instead of sympathy, she was getting dragged. By Tuesday morning, she'd deleted the post. But the internet doesn't forget. Screenshots were everywhere. I leaned back on my futon, staring at my laptop screen, and allowed myself a moment of genuine satisfaction. Monica had always been Vanessa's enabler, her cheerleader, her partner in crime. She'd helped Vanessa hide the affair, had probably encouraged it, had definitely laughed at my expense over glasses of wine. Now she was paying for it. Wednesday afternoon, I got a text from an unknown number. "This is Tyler. We need to talk." I stared at the message for a long moment, debating whether to respond. Part of me wanted to ignore him, to let him stew in whatever panic he was feeling, but another part of me was curious. "What do you want?" I typed back. "To explain, to apologize. Can we meet?" "No. Please. I know I messed up, but I didn't know she was going to." "Going to what? Take my kids to Europe? Replace me with you? Destroy my life?" There was a long pause before his next message. "I didn't know about the text she sent you, I swear. When I found out, I told her she'd gone too far." "And yet you still went to Europe with her." Another pause. "I made a mistake, a lot of mistakes, but I never wanted this to blow up the way it did." "Too late. Look, Vanessa's a mess right now. She's barely holding it together. The hospital's investigating her. Her friends won't talk to her. Monica's blaming her for everything, and I can't do this anymore." I sat up straighter. "Can't do what?" "This. Us. Her. All of it. I'm done." "You're leaving her?" "Yeah, I told her yesterday." "She didn't take it well?" I felt a smile creeping across my face. "How not well?" "She threw a lamp at me, called me every name in the book, said I was abandoning her when she needed me most." "Sounds about right." "I know you hate me, Ethan, and you have every right to, but for what it's worth, I'm sorry. I never should have gotten involved with her." I didn't respond right away. I let him sit there waiting, wondering if I was going to forgive him or tell him to go to hell. Finally, I typed, "You're right, you shouldn't have, and no, I don't forgive you, but I appreciate you telling me. Are you going to release more stuff? You said you had more." Maybe. Depends on whether you stay away from Vanessa and my kids like I told you to. I will, I promise. Good. I blocked the number and tossed my phone onto the table. Tyler was out. Monica was disgraced, and Vanessa was alone. Everything was falling apart for her, exactly the way it had fallen apart for me. Except I'd been innocent. She wasn't. Thursday evening, David called me. It was the first time he'd ever called instead of texting, and I knew immediately that something was wrong. "Ethan," he said, his voice low and urgent. "She's losing it." "What do you mean?" "Vanessa. She showed up at your old apartment today. I was driving by and saw her standing outside, just staring at the building. She looked, I don't know, unhinged. I felt a cold knot form in my stomach." "How long was she there?" "I'm not sure. I circled back 10 minutes later and she was gone." "Did she try to get inside?" "I don't know. But Ethan, you need to be careful. I think she knows you're behind everything and she's not handling it well." "Thanks for the warning. There's something else." "What?" She was carrying a box. Like a keepsake box or something. I saw her go through a dumpster behind the building. I think she was looking for stuff you threw away." I closed my eyes. I'd thrown out a bunch of things before I left. Old wedding photos, cards she'd given me, little mementos from our relationship. I'd ripped them up and tossed them in the trash, not thinking she'd ever go looking for them. But of course she had, because Vanessa always had to know everything. "Did she find anything?" "I think so. She pulled something out of the dumpster and put it in the box. Then she got in her car and drove off." "Which direction?" "West, toward downtown." I thanked David and hung up. Then I sat there thinking. Vanessa was unraveling. And when people unraveled, they became unpredictable, dangerous. I needed to stay ahead of her. I opened my laptop and started going through the files I'd saved from her hidden phone. There had to be something else I could use. Something that would push her over the edge completely. And then I found it. A text message exchange between Vanessa and Monica from 6 months ago. "Monica, what if Ethan finds out?" "Vanessa, he won't. He's too trusting." "Monica, but what if he does?" "Vanessa, then we'll make sure he looks like the bad guy. I'll tell people he was controlling, unstable. I'll get a restraining order if I have to. No one will believe him over me." I read the exchange 3 times, my jaw clenching tighter with each pass. She'd had a backup plan. A plan to destroy me if I ever discovered the truth. She'd been willing to lie, to manipulate, to ruin my reputation just to protect herself. I forwarded the screenshot to my secure drive, then leaned back in my chair. Vanessa thought she was the victim now, thought I was the villain in this story. But I wasn't done yet, not even close. Friday morning, I woke up to a dozen missed calls from my mom. I called her back, already bracing myself for the conversation. "Ethan, thank God," she said when she picked up. "I've been trying to reach you all night." "Sorry, Mom, my phone was off. What's wrong?" "It's Vanessa. She called me yesterday. She was crying, saying terrible things about you, saying you'd been harassing her, threatening her, ruining her life." I felt my stomach drop. "What did you tell her?" "I told her I didn't believe her, that you would never do something like that. But Ethan, she sounded desperate, like she was falling apart. She is falling apart." "What's going on? What happened between you two?" I sighed. I hadn't told my mom the full story yet. I'd kept it vague, saying Vanessa and I had separated and leaving it at that. But now, with Vanessa calling her, I didn't have a choice. "Mom, Vanessa cheated on me, for months, with a guy from her hospital. She took the kids to Europe with him and told me I wasn't their real dad. She destroyed our marriage, and now she's mad, because I'm not just rolling over and taking it." There was a long silence on the other end of the line. "Oh, Ethan," my mom said finally, her voice thick with emotion. "I'm so sorry." "It's okay." "No, it's not. That woman, how could she do that to you, after everything you did for her?" "I don't know, Mom." "What are you going to do?" "I'm handling it." "Ethan." "I'm handling it," I repeated, more firmly this time. Another pause. "Just be careful, okay? Don't do anything you'll regret." "I won't." We said our goodbyes, and I hung up, but my mom's words stayed with me. Don't do anything you'll regret. The thing was, I didn't regret any of it. Not the frozen accounts, not the fundraiser, not exposing Monica. Vanessa had brought this on herself. She'd made her choices, and now she was living with the consequences. And I was just getting started. Saturday night, I got a text from David. "Party at Jennifer Coleman's house tomorrow. Vanessa's planning to go, trying to salvage her reputation, I think." Jennifer Coleman was another doctor at the hospital, someone Vanessa had always gotten along with. If Vanessa was going to her party, it meant she was trying to repair her social standing to convince people she was still the same competent, likable person she'd always been. I wasn't going to let that happen. "Can you get me on the guest list?" I texted back. "I'll try." An hour later, David sent me another message. "You're in. Jennifer thinks you're my +1. Don't make me regret this." I won't. Sunday evening, I drove to Jennifer's house. It was a nice place in the suburbs, with a big backyard and a pool. The party was already in full swing when I arrived, people laughing, drinking, music playing in the background. I spotted Vanessa almost immediately. She was standing near the patio talking to a small group of people. She looked tired, thinner than I remembered. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. I grabbed a beer from the cooler and found a spot near the back of the yard where I could watch without being noticed. For the first hour, Vanessa played the part perfectly. She laughed at jokes, complimented people's outfits, acted like everything was fine. But I could see the cracks. The way her hands shook slightly when she held her glass. The way her eyes darted around nervously, like she was waiting for something bad to happen. At 8 p.m., Jennifer called for everyone's attention. She wanted to make a toast, to thank everyone for coming, to celebrate another year of friendship. I saw my opportunity. I stood up and raised my glass. "I'd like to say something, if that's okay." Jennifer looked surprised, but nodded. "Of course, Ethan. Go ahead." All eyes turned to me, including Vanessa's. She went pale. "I just want to thank Jennifer for hosting this," I said, keeping my voice calm and friendly. "And I want to thank all of you for being here. It's nice to see so many familiar faces." I paused, letting the moment stretch out. "I also want to clear the air about something. I'm sure you've all heard the rumors about me and Vanessa, about our separation, about what happened at the fundraiser." Vanessa stood up, her face white. "Ethan, don't—" "I'm not here to cause trouble," I said, cutting her off. "I'm just here to tell the truth." I pulled out my phone and held it up so everyone could see the screen. On it was the text exchange between Vanessa and Monica, the one where they'd talked about making me look like the bad guy if I ever found out about the affair. "This is a conversation between my wife and her best friend," I said. "They were planning to destroy my reputation if I ever discovered that Vanessa was cheating on me. They were going to tell people I was controlling, unstable. They were going to make sure no one believed me." I swiped to the next screenshot. And this is a message from Vanessa to her lover, Tyler Voss. She's laughing about how clueless I am, how easy it is to lie to me. I swiped again. And this is a voicemail where she talks about getting rid of me so she can start a new life with Tyler and my kids. The silence was suffocating. I looked at Vanessa. She was trembling, tears streaming down her face. "I didn't harass her," I said. "I didn't threaten her. I didn't ruin her life. She did that all on her own. I just made sure people knew the truth." I set my phone down and picked up my beer. "Anyway, thanks for listening. Enjoy the party." I walked toward the gate and no one tried to stop me. Behind me, I could hear the whispers starting, the murmurs of shock and disbelief. And then I heard Monica's voice, loud and sharp. "This is your fault, Vanessa. You dragged me into this. You ruined everything." There was a loud sound, skin on skin. I didn't turn around. I just kept walking. By the time I got back to my apartment, my phone was blowing up. Text messages from people I hadn't heard from in years, friends, acquaintances, even a few family members. Everyone wanted to know what was going on, if I was okay, if the things I'd said at the party were true. I ignored most of them. But there was one message I couldn't ignore. It was from a number I didn't recognize. "You think you're so smart, don't you? You think you've won?" I stared at the message for a long moment before typing back. "Who is this?" "You know who, Vanessa. What do you want?" "To tell you that this isn't over. You embarrassed me. You humiliated me in front of everyone. But I'm not going to just sit here and take it." "What are you going to do, Vanessa? Lie about me some more? Good luck with that." "I'm going to take you to court. I'm going to get full custody of the kids, and I'm going to make sure you never see them again." I laughed, actually laughed. "You can try. I'm serious, Ethan." "So am I. You cheated. You lied. You abandoned me. And now you think a judge is going to side with you? Good luck." There was a long pause before her next message. "I hate you." "I know." I blocked the number and tossed my phone onto the couch. Vanessa was desperate, and desperation made people sloppy. I just had to wait for her to make a mistake. Monday morning, I got a call from David. "She's gone," he said. "What do you mean, gone?" "Vanessa. She didn't show up for work today. No call, no email, nothing. And when someone went to check on her at home, she wasn't there." I felt a flicker of unease. "Where is she?" "No one knows. Her car's gone, her phone's off. It's like she just vanished. What about Monica? Monica's here. She's been crying all morning. Says Vanessa won't answer her calls either. I hung up and sat there thinking. Vanessa wouldn't just disappear, not without a plan. She was too calculated for that, which meant she was up to something. I opened my laptop and checked her social media accounts. Nothing new. I checked her email. I still had access to her old shared account and found a draft message she'd never sent. It was addressed to Tyler. I need to get away for a while, clear my head, figure out what to do next. I'll call you when I'm ready. I closed the laptop and leaned back in my chair. She was running. But where? I spent the next 2 days trying to figure out where Vanessa had gone. I called her family, her friends, even her coworkers. No one had heard from her. David kept me updated on the situation at the hospital. The administration was furious. Vanessa had missed multiple shifts, left patients without coverage, violated her contract. They were talking about termination. She's done, David said. Even if she comes back, they're not going to let her keep her job. Good, I said. Wednesday evening, I got a text from an unknown number. She's at your door. I frowned. Who is this? David, using a burner. She's at your old apartment. She looks out of her mind. I grabbed my keys and drove across town as fast as I could. When I got to the apartment building, I saw Vanessa's car parked on the street. The lights were off inside, but I could see her silhouette through the windshield. She was just sitting there, staring at the building. I parked a block away and approached on foot. When I got closer, I could see her more clearly. She looked terrible. Her hair was a mess, her eyes were red and swollen, and she was clutching something in her lap. The keepsake box. I tapped on the window. She jumped, startled, and turned to look at me. For a moment, we just stared at each other. Then she rolled down the window. What are you doing here, Vanessa? I could ask you the same thing. This is my apartment, or it was. She looked down at the box in her lap. I found this in the dumpster. You threw it away. Yeah, I did. Why? Because I didn't want it anymore. She opened the box and pulled out a torn photograph. It was from our wedding day. Me in a tux, her in a white dress, both of us smiling like we had our whole lives ahead of us. Do you remember this day? She asked, her voice shaking. Yeah, we were so happy. We were. What happened to us, Ethan? I stared at her, trying to find the right words, but there weren't any. You know what happened, I said finally. She started crying. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. Yes, you did. No, You made a choice, Vanessa. You chose Tyler. You chose to lie to me, to betray me, to take my kids and replace me. You made that choice. I was confused. I didn't know what I wanted. And now? She looked up at me, tears streaming down her face. Now I've lost everything. I didn't say anything. She put the photograph back in the box and closed the lid. I know you hate me, and I deserve it. But please, Ethan, please don't take the kids away from me. They're all I have left. You should have thought about that before you called them my kids instead of our kids. She flinched. I turned and walked back to my car, leaving her there in the dark. Thursday morning, I woke up to a voicemail from Vanessa. I know you won't forgive me. I know I don't deserve it. But I need you to know that I never wanted to hurt you. I got lost, and I'm sorry. I deleted the voicemail. An hour later, I got a call from a lawyer. Mr. Blake, this is Amanda Porter. I represent Dr. Vanessa Blake. She's asked me to reach out to you regarding custody arrangements for your children. I don't have a lawyer yet, I said. That's fine. I just wanted to let you know that Dr. Blake is willing to negotiate. She's hoping we can come to an agreement without going to court. What kind of agreement? Joint custody. She's willing to split time 50-50. I almost laughed. A week ago, she wanted to take them away from me completely. Circumstances have changed. Yeah, they have. So, will you consider it? I'll think about it. Thank you, Mr. Blake. I hung up and immediately called David. She hired a lawyer, I said. I heard. She's trying to clean up her image, trying to look reasonable. Is it working? Not really. People at the hospital are still talking about the fundraiser and about what you said at Jennifer's party. No one's on her side anymore. Good. Ethan, be careful. I think she's planning something. Like what? I don't know, but she's been asking questions. About you, about where you're living, about what you're doing. It's like she's trying to build a case against you. I felt a chill run down my spine. What kind of questions? Stuff like, has Ethan been acting strange? Has he been aggressive? Has he made any threats? She's trying to make you look unstable. I remembered the text exchange I'd found on her hidden phone. the one where she and Monica discussed how they would frame me for cruelty if I ever found out about their affair. She was following through on her plan. "Thanks for the warning," I said. "Just be smart, okay? Don't give her anything she can use against you." "I won't." Friday afternoon, I got a package in the mail. It was a manila envelope with no return address. Inside was a single photograph. It was a picture of me, taken from a distance, standing outside my apartment. The angle suggested it had been taken from a car parked across the street. There was a note attached. "I know where you live." I stared at the photo, my jaw tightening. Vanessa was watching me. I pulled out my phone and called David. "She's stalking me." "What?" "She sent me a photo of myself, taken outside my apartment. She's following me." "Ethan, you need to go to the police." "And tell them what? My ex-wife is taking pictures of me? They'll laugh me out of the station." "Then get a restraining order." "I'm working on it." I hung up and sat down at my kitchen table, staring at the photo. Vanessa was unraveling, fast, and when people unraveled, they became dangerous. I needed to end this. Soon. Saturday morning, I reached out to a private investigator I'd found online. His name was Greg Mitchell, and he specialized in surveillance and evidence gathering. "I need someone followed," I told him over the phone. "Who?" "My ex-wife. Her name's Vanessa Blake. I think she's planning to do something, and I need to know what." "Do you have any evidence?" I told him about the photograph, the text messages, the way she'd been asking questions about me at the hospital. "Sounds like she's building a harassment case against you," Greg said, trying to make herself look like the victim. "Can you help me?" "Yeah, but it's not cheap." "How much?" $2,000 up front, plus expenses." "Done. I'll start Monday." I hung up and leaned back in my chair, feeling a small sense of relief. I wasn't going to let Vanessa control the narrative anymore. Sunday evening, I got a call from my mom. "Ethan, Vanessa called me again." I sighed. "What did she say?" "She said you've been harassing her, that you've been following her, sending her threatening messages, trying to turn everyone against her." "Mom, that's not true." "I know it's not, but she sounded very convincing." "She's lying. She's the one who's been stalking me. She sent me a photo of myself, taken from outside my apartment." "Oh my God. Ethan, you need to be careful." "I am. No, I mean it. If she's really doing this, you need to protect yourself. Document everything. Get a lawyer, get a restraining order." "I'm working on it. Promise me." "I promise." We said our goodbyes, and I hung up. My mom was right. I needed to protect myself, but I also needed to make sure Vanessa couldn't hurt me or anyone else ever again. Monday morning, Greg called me with an update. "She's been busy," he said. "What do you mean?" "I've been following her since yesterday. She went to 3 different law offices trying to find someone who'd take her case. Then she went to the police station." My stomach dropped. "What did she tell them?" "I don't know, but she was in there for over an hour." "Did they file a report?" "I'm not sure, but I'll keep digging." I hung up and paced around my apartment, trying to think. Vanessa was escalating. She wasn't just trying to ruin my reputation anymore. She was trying to get me arrested. I needed to act fast. I pulled out my phone and called Tyler. "Hello?" He sounded wary. "It's Ethan. We need to talk." "I told you, I'm done with Vanessa. I'm not getting involved in this." "I'm not asking you to get involved. I'm asking you to meet me one time. That's it." "Why?" "Because Vanessa's trying to destroy both of us, and I think we can help each other." There was a long pause. "Fine. Where?" "There's a rooftop bar downtown, 7th and Main, tonight at 8. "I'll be there." I hung up and smiled. Tyler thought I wanted to make peace, to find common ground. He had no idea what was coming. That evening, I arrived at the rooftop bar early and found a table near the railing, overlooking the city. The sun was setting, casting an orange glow over the buildings. At 8:05, Tyler showed up. He looked nervous, his hands shoved in his pockets, his eyes darting around like he was expecting a trap. He sat down across from me. "So, what do you want?" "To talk?" "About?" "About Vanessa." He leaned back in his chair. "I already told you, I'm done with her." "I know, but she's not done with you." His expression shifted. "What do you mean?" "She's been telling people you manipulated her, that you took advantage of her while she was vulnerable, that you're the reason her life fell apart." "That's insane." "Is it?" Because from where I'm sitting, it sounds exactly like something Vanessa would do. Tyler ran a hand through his hair. "She's really saying that?" "Yep." "But I didn't manipulate her. She came on to me. She initiated everything. Do you have proof? No. I deleted all our messages after we broke up. Then it's your word against hers. And right now, people are more inclined to believe her than you. Tyler looked panicked. What am I supposed to do? I pulled out my phone and opened the voice recorder app. You're going to tell me the truth? All of it? How the affair started? What Vanessa said to you? What she promised you? Why would I do that? Because if you don't, Vanessa's going to make you the villain in this story. And trust me, she's very good at playing the victim. Tyler stared at me for a long moment. Then he nodded. Fine. I hit record. Start from the beginning. Tyler took a deep breath. We met at the hospital fundraiser. She approached me first, asked if I wanted to grab a drink after the event. I thought it was just networking, but then she started flirting with me, and I didn't stop it. When did it turn physical? A few weeks later, she invited me to her hotel after a conference. She said you two were having problems, that you barely talked anymore, that she felt trapped. Did she mention leaving me? Yeah. She said she wanted to, but she didn't know how. She said she was scared of what you'd do if you found out. What I'd do? She made it sound like you were controlling, possessive. She said you monitored her phone, questioned her about where she'd been, got angry if she didn't answer your calls right away. I felt my jaw clench. I never did any of that. I know now. At the time, I believed her. What else did she say? She talked about starting over, moving away, taking the kids and disappearing. She said it was the only way she could be happy. And you went along with it? Yeah, I did. I thought I was helping her, saving her from a bad situation. Did you ever meet me, talk to me? Just that one time at the fundraiser. You seemed nice, normal, nothing like the way Vanessa described you. But you didn't question it? No, I wanted to believe her. I stopped the recording. Thank you. What are you going to do with that? I'm going to make sure people know the truth. Tyler stood up, looking uneasy. I should go. Not yet. There's one more thing. He froze. What? I pulled a folded piece of paper from my pocket and handed it to him. This is a restraining order against Vanessa. I filed it this morning. It goes into effect tomorrow. Tyler unfolded the paper and read it. His eyes widened. You're going to serve her with this? Yep. When? I checked my watch. In about 10 minutes. What? She's downstairs, in the parking garage, waiting for you. Tyler's face went pale. How do you know that? Because I told her you wanted to meet. I sent her a text from your phone. You stole my phone? Borrowed. It's in your jacket pocket. Tyler reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone, staring at it in disbelief. You set me up. No, I set her up. You're just collateral damage. Before Tyler could respond, I heard footsteps behind us. I turned and saw Vanessa walking toward our table, her face twisted with anger. What the hell is this? She demanded. Hello, Vanessa, I said calmly. She ignored me and glared at Tyler. You texted me, said you wanted to talk. Tyler shook his head. I didn't text you. Yes, you did. I have the messages. He didn't, I said. I did, using his phone. Vanessa turned to me, her eyes blazing. You're insane. And you're a liar. I'm calling the police. Go ahead. I'm sure they'd love to hear the recording I just made. The one where Tyler explains how you manipulated him, lied about me, and planned to take my kids and disappear. Vanessa froze. You're bluffing. I held up my phone, showing her the recording app. Am I? She lunged for the phone, but I stepped back, keeping it out of reach. Give me that. No. Ethan, please, you don't understand. I understand perfectly. You're a cheater, a liar, and a manipulator, and everyone's going to know it. Vanessa's face crumpled. You're ruining my life. No, you ruined your own life. I'm just making sure everyone knows what you did. At that moment, a security guard appeared at the top of the stairs, holding a piece of paper. Dr. Vanessa Blake? Vanessa turned. Yes? You've been served. He handed her the restraining order. She stared at it, her hands shaking. What is this? It's a restraining order, I said. You need to stay at least 500 feet away from me at all times. If you don't, you'll be arrested. Vanessa looked at me, then at Tyler, then back at me. You planned this. Yep. You manipulative? Careful, I said. The guard's still here. Vanessa's face twisted with rage, but she didn't say anything else. She just turned and stormed off, clutching the restraining order in her hand. Tyler stood there, staring at me. "You're terrifying." "Thank you." He shook his head and walked away. I stood there for a moment, looking out at the city, feeling a sense of satisfaction I hadn't felt in months. Vanessa was cornered, isolated, desperate, and I was just getting started. The medical conference was scheduled for the following Saturday. It was a big event. Hundreds of doctors, researchers, and administrators from across the region all gathered to discuss the latest advancements in healthcare. Vanessa was supposed to give the keynote speech. It was the kind of high-profile opportunity she lived for. I wasn't going to let her have it. Over the past week, I'd compiled everything I had on Vanessa. The messages, the photos, the voicemails, the recordings. I'd organized it all into a comprehensive package, complete with a timeline and detailed explanations. Then I'd sent it to 3 people: the conference organizers, a local journalist who specialized in healthcare reporting, and the state medical board. I didn't sign my name. I didn't need to. The evidence spoke for itself. By Wednesday, the fallout had begun. The conference organizers called Vanessa and told her they were re-evaluating her keynote slot. The journalist published an article titled "Local Doctor Under Investigation for Professional Misconduct." The medical board opened a formal inquiry into her conduct. David kept me updated on Vanessa's reaction. "She's falling apart," he said. "She's been crying in her office all day. She tried to call the conference organizers, but they won't take her calls." "Good," I said. "Ethan, I'm worried about her. I think she might do something drastic." "Like what?" "I don't know, but she's not in a good place right now. She put herself there." "I know, but still." I hung up, feeling a twinge of something I didn't want to name. Not guilt, exactly, but something close. I pushed it aside. Saturday arrived. I drove to the conference center and parked in the back lot. I wasn't planning to go inside. I just wanted to watch from a distance to see how everything played out. At 9 a.m., the conference began. I could see people streaming into the building, dressed in suits and carrying briefcases. At 10 the keynote speech was supposed to start, but Vanessa didn't show up. Instead, the conference organizers announced that the keynote had been canceled due to unforeseen circumstances. The crowd murmured in confusion. Then, at 10:15, the fire alarm went off. People started evacuating the building, filing out into the parking lot, looking annoyed and bewildered. I stayed in my car, watching. At 10:30, I saw a tow truck pull up to the front entrance. It hooked up to a black BMW, Tyler's car, and started dragging it away. I smiled. At 10:45, I saw Monica arrive. She looked frantic, her hair disheveled, her clothes wrinkled. She was intercepted by a man in a suit, a journalist by the looks of it, who started asking her questions. Monica tried to walk away, but he followed her, his camera rolling. Finally, she snapped. "Fine. You want the truth? Vanessa Blake is a liar and a manipulator. She ruined my life. She ruined her own life, and she deserves everything that's happening to her." The journalist kept filming. Monica stormed off, tears streaming down her face. I sat there, watching the chaos unfold, feeling a strange sense of detachment. This was it, the moment I'd been working toward for months. Vanessa's reputation was destroyed. Her career was over. Her friends had turned on her. Her lover had abandoned her. She had nothing left, and I'd made it happen. At 11 noon, I saw Vanessa. She was standing in the parking lot, alone, staring at the conference center. She looked small, broken. I watched as she pulled out her phone, dialed a number, and held it to her ear. Whoever she was calling didn't pick up. She tried again. Same result. Finally, she lowered the phone and just stood there, staring at nothing. Then she collapsed. People rushed over, calling for help. An ambulance arrived within minutes, and paramedics loaded her onto a stretcher. I sat there watching, feeling nothing. No satisfaction, no guilt. Just emptiness. David called me an hour later. "She's in the hospital. They're saying it's a panic attack. Or maybe a nervous breakdown. No one's sure yet." "Is she okay?" "Physically? Yeah. Mentally? I don't think so." "Thanks for letting me know." I hung up and drove home. 2 weeks later, I got a call from Vanessa's lawyer. "Mr. Blake, this is Amanda Porter. I wanted to inform you that Dr. Blake has agreed to your terms. She's willing to sign over full custody of the children and drop all legal claims against you." "What changed her mind?" "She's not in a position to fight anymore. She's taking a leave of absence from her job, and she's entered a treatment program. She thinks it's best for everyone if you have primary custody." "I see." "There is one thing she asked for." "What's that?" "She'd like to see the children, just once, to say goodbye." I thought about it for a long moment. No. Mr. Blake, tell her I'll think about it, but not right now. Understood. I hung up. Over the next few weeks, I started putting my life back together. I got a new apartment in a better part of town. I enrolled the kids in a new school. I started freelancing again, taking on projects that actually interested me instead of just paying the bills. I didn't hear from Vanessa. Monica had moved out of state. Tyler had disappeared from social media entirely. David checked in occasionally, giving me updates on the hospital. They fired her, he said one day, officially terminated her contract. How's she taking it? I don't know. I haven't seen her, but I heard she's living with her parents now. Good. One Saturday morning, I was sitting on my couch, drinking coffee and scrolling through the news when I saw a headline that made me stop. Former hospital doctor Vanessa Blake faces medical board hearing. I clicked on the article. It detailed the formal investigation into Vanessa's conduct, her manipulation of colleagues, her falsification of records, her breach of professional ethics. The medical board was considering revoking her license. I read the entire article twice. Then I closed my laptop and stared at the wall. For months, I'd been focused on destroying Vanessa, on making her pay for what she'd done to me, and I'd succeeded. I'd taken everything from her career, her reputation, her friends, her future. But sitting there, in my quiet apartment, I didn't feel victorious. I just felt tired. That afternoon, I packed up my car with the essentials, clothes, laptop, a few books. I called my mom and told her I was taking a trip, that I needed some time to clear my head. Where are you going? She asked. I don't know yet. I'll figure it out. Are you okay, Ethan? Yeah, I think I am. I hung up and got in my car. As I drove out of the city, I turned on the radio. A news anchor was talking about Vanessa's case, about the medical board hearing, about the scandal that had rocked the local healthcare community. I turned it off. I didn't need to hear it anymore. I pulled out my phone and looked at the last message I'd received from Vanessa weeks ago. I'm sorry for everything. I stared at it for a long moment. Then I deleted it. I drove west toward the highway, watching the city fade in my rearview mirror. Somewhere behind me, Vanessa was trying to pick up the pieces of her shattered life. Somewhere behind me, Monica was starting over in a new city. Somewhere behind me, Tyler was probably lying to someone new. But I was done looking back. I'd spent months consumed by revenge, by anger, by the need to make Vanessa suffer the way she'd made me suffer. And I'd done it. I'd taken everything from her. But now it was over. I glanced in the rearview mirror one last time, then focused on the road ahead. The sun was setting, casting long shadows across the highway. I rolled down the window, letting the cool evening air fill the car. For the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe. I thought about the kids, about how I'd tell them the truth when they were old enough to understand, about how I'd make sure they knew they were loved, that they were wanted, that they mattered. I thought about the future, uncertain, but mine. And I thought about Vanessa, sitting in her parents' house, staring at the wreckage of her life, wondering how it had all gone so wrong. I smiled. Not a happy smile, not a cruel one either. Just a smile of someone who'd finally let go. I pressed down on the gas pedal and drove into the fading light. Behind me, the city disappeared. Ahead of me, the road stretched on forever. And I was free.